What are we hearing with this Michigan thing? We're waiting for a report to come down. I apologize if you're watching this is slightly dated, but that happens on a Friday news dump day. By the way, the Big Ten, they don't want Michigan to get in trouble, right?
Well, the Big Ten's the one coming down on Michigan. And
But I mean,
so
intrinsically, if it's something they could avoid altogether, if this never even happened, that would be their preference. So their
well,
second preference would be an argument to let them off the hook completely.
I'll tell you the Big Ten's. Well, here's what the Big Ten wants. Here's how they can avoid this altogether. They want Michigan. And by the way, Big Ten officials are going to be. Watch out for Big Ten officials this weekend because don't tell me they're not in on this.
Whoa,
they want.
How would they be in on what?
Wait, let me finish. They want Michigan to be completely knocked out of the playoff race and Ohio State or Penn State to be the team to get in. That's what the Big Ten wants because that's easy for them because then they can levy the punishment without having to worry about costing themselves a college football playoff team in there.
Are you telling me that somebody at the Big Ten office calls the officials and says, "Hey, Bob, how are you and Lucy doing? We're doing great. How about you and the kids? We're all great. Well, that's good, Bob. I need you to throw the Michigan game."
Yes.
That doesn't happen, Caleb. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Dave. The SEC is still mad to this day about the national title revenue they lost with Tennessee losing to LSU in 2001. What happened 3 years later when Tennessee played Auburn and Auburn was undefeated and had an outside shot at the national title? Remember when Tennessee really fought their guts off to try to almost beat Auburn in the SEC title game? Remember the really questionable penalties that were called in that game? The holding penalty on the Cedric Houston touchdown, the pass interference on, I think it was Rashawn Fellows. That was not a pass interference. You remember that?
Yeah, but aren't you kidding? I mean, I can't imagine for a second the Big Ten.
I don't think they rig it. I think they lean a certain way if they work for the conference. This is why conferences shouldn't have officials. I've been very big on this from the start. I'm very much against conferences having their own officials.
Okay. I don't think there's anything that orchestrated going on. Or that nefarious.
You don't think Game 6 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals was orchestrated because they needed a Game 7 because they knew the winner of that would sweep the Nets in the finals? You don't think the Lakers-Kings Western Conference Finals was rigged in 2002?
No.
Oh my gosh. Game 6, 27 free throws for LA in the fourth quarter. Kobe elbows Mike Bibby in the face. An official who has gone to prison testified under oath that game was fixed.
But here's been my take on officiating from the get-go. Big picture look at this. If you manipulate your officials whatsoever, you have Pete Rose. You have torn up the integrity of your game. If Michigan has done anything like that, and it certainly appears they should be punished, and Harbaugh should be punished during the season. So don't get me wrong on that. I just don't think the Big Ten wants it to happen. And I sure as heck don't think the Big Ten president's calling his individual officials and saying it would be great if Penn State had a good day and Ohio State had a good day and Michigan didn't. That's not happening, Caleb.
I'm saying it's happening. Somebody who works in the Big Ten office is walking by an official and like, it'd be really easy for the whole conference if the Michigan. Let's see how the officiating goes on Saturday. And the 2002 Western Conference Finals was a rigged job. The Kings should have won it that year. They should have been NBA champions. Chris Webber should have had a ring that makes up for his pathetic timeout when he played at Michigan in 1992 or whatever. Okay, Chris Webber should have a championship. He got cheated because they needed a Game 7 because they knew the finals was going to be a sweep. That was the biggest rig job in the history of sports, and it was obvious. And I will say that on this show, Dave, and I don't care.
I always thought the one that, if you want to talk conspiracies, the one that held the most water was the Michael Jordan was suspended for baseball for gambling.
Oh, absolutely.
I thought the timing of him walking away, but that to me is a bigger macro picture where you're going to him and saying, as a businessman, you need to go another way for a while to protect both of our businesses. Fred White joins us now. I just saw him pop up at the screen. Has he been there long, Caleb?
I don't see him on my end.
Oh, okay. Fred, have you been there long? I just saw you.
I've been here for about 30 seconds.
Okay, that's not too bad then. Look at Fred rocking the Tennessee Cider Company. Use the promo code HAT, and you'll get free swag to Tennessee Cider. We were just talking about this. Has there ever been a time where you've been in a game that you not only thought the officials were inept, like not good, but you thought that they had an agenda for a specific team?
Well, yeah. Every time they
Look at
call
him.
on us. That's me.
I love Fred. Fred's honest. Every time they call a call.
Yeah, I thought they were out to get us. Absolutely.
Fred, do you not think that some Big Ten officials, do you not think the Big Ten might be on the call? Somebody's going to just say in passing to officials, it'd be really great if Michigan could get knocked out of the playoff race so we just can easily give them their punishment. You don't think there's going to be a few calls in Penn State's favor this Saturday to try to get Michigan knocked out?
I hope not, because if that's the case, then you're now in a situation where you can manipulate games by getting to the officials. And that's something I don't want to happen. That kills the integrity of the game. You know, a few years ago, you had that NBA guy who came out and said he did some things with games, and you know, it hurt the integrity of the game. Like you created a situation where you may have caused Sacramento a chance to go to the championship game, and they had a really good basketball team that year. I don't want to see a team that's supposed to be in the championship not make it because somebody made a bad call simply because they have a grudge against someone. That's not good for the integrity of the game.
Yep. Let's get your thoughts on board with Fred White. Fred, nice enough to join us as he does each and every Friday. It's a Football Friday with Fred, and it's brought to you by Herald Group Security Solutions, leadership experience, specialization, addressing problems through unique mission-specific mitigation techniques, also making your children safer one school at a time. Avoid those tragedies. Do that by going to Herald Group Security Solutions. They're right down below. Click on them. Tell your workplace administrator or your school administrator, hey, children, workplace need to be safe. Let's avoid those tragedies. Herald Group Security Solutions. As far as officiating, all the talk about Michigan and stealing signs, if there were anything, so Fred was really good, and I want to give him kudos for something he did. This is before the internet. Fred was really good at doing his research, and it had to do with the mom's name, the girlfriend or wife's name, perhaps child's name, and that he would call out that name repeatedly during the game. That's research. That's good stuff. But Fred, from a sign sending standpoint, is there any one thing that you could see that you think would really help you as a player during the game, or does that have to be up at the coaching level?
We look at signs too, as being on the football field. You think Steve Spurrier didn't know what we were doing when we called our signs? We played them in 1998 was the first time we actually changed our signs. And we did that amongst us. Deion Grant, Dwayne Gilbert, and Steve Johnson, we did that amongst us. And our secondary guys, we just said, you know what, Coach, they may have our signals. So how about we do this, just in case? Instead of calling quarters how we used to, quarters was called this. This was now 2-5, meaning like cover 2 with 5 on the backside. If you had a short backside, we would change it. This was 2-5, hand on head, hand on hip. That was 2-5. Now we're going cover 8 with that. We did that for the entire first half of the game, and that was a change from what we normally did. And then we went right back to our regular way in the fourth quarter. We changed it in the fourth quarter. Hey man, everything now is regular call. Let's go back to regular call. And what we did. So if they had our signals beforehand, we found ways to combat it by doing those things. And that's something I know we did in 1998. We played against Florida.
Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Fred, how much of that is just normal business as a football team? You should be changing up your signs. If not every game, then pretty close, right?
Well, I mean, you have to. I've talked to a lot of Florida guys that we played against, Fred Taylor and Jaquez Green being some of my friends, and had some conversations with them, and we knew everything y'all were doing. And they knew what our hand signals were.
So Florida's former players admitted to you, we knew what you were doing.
Yeah, we knew what you guys were doing. We knew y'all were playing cover 4 or we playing cover 2. We knew it.
Okay, so what was more significant? You outsmarted them with the different signals, or the fact that you guys were uber talented?
I think the fact that we were uber talented is more than anything, but then we also changed our signals up just in case. And we did that against some of the good teams. We did it against Georgia. We did it against Auburn. We did it against teams that we felt like had an edge that could, give us some issues and give us some problems. we did those type of things. Just to say, okay, man, we're gonna switch this up this game. This is different. This is what we're gonna do different so that these guys don't know exactly what we're doing. Cover 3 call used to be 3 and play it. And we changed that to wide loose 1 robber. Robber was just this. And we started changing that to cover 3. I mean, it was just certain little things like that we did and we picked up on in games. You go back and you look at some of those games and you'll see our hand signals. Every team has them. But you also can use they give you a wristband. You can always use your wristband and go cover 5 or 4 or whatever that coverage is. You can do those things. But they can give you they can give you a different wristband at halftime. I mean, when I was in San Francisco, they did that.
Interesting. All right. Great stuff there.